After weeks of no Violet, Smack was dying from inside. Okay, Smack, I'm not narrating the rest. This is family-friendly, clean PG content. We don't say this gross stuff here. Also, me and Smack are in a bit of a war. I'm a Chloe's club member, he's a Violentine club member, so we're fighting. Anyway, Smack was originally supposed to do today's video, but because of his treatment, I have to narrate this. Hopefully he can do it next time. But anyway, forget about that. Today we're going to talk about Violet's role in episode 2 of Telltale's The Walking Dead final season. Now, we're going full unbiased. You guys got Lewis' role video? Why Lewis is important video? Violet deserves hers too. We don't want to hear any, oh, this channel is biased. With that out of the way, thanks to Crakes, Zombie Ali, 4K 60 FPS HDR, and Ket. So now let's get started. And for those of you who are wondering what's up with these random shoutouts, again, it'll all be explained soon. Hey guys, I'm Chantel, the narrator from SmackNPie, and you're watching The Guy Gaming Show, which is run and owned by Smack. Alright, so after a long time of waiting, know this, Violet's got a huge role to play, and after Telltale confirming that Violet will indeed be in episode 2 trailer, this is perfect timing to make a video on her. We're so close to episode 2 already, it's amazing how fast the time went by, which is good and bad at the same time. With that, let's talk about what's the role of Violet, as I can hear some of you guys are already saying, start the frickin' video already. Alright, so Violet is in her late teens. Just like Clem, introduced to us when we woke up in Erickson boarding school for troubled youth after the car crash, and Violet is indeed one of these troubled youth. You see, her character is important. She's got a huge role to play in upcoming episodes. The introduction to her character was a bit sketchy and smart by Telltale. They specifically planted this seed in the player's head. Look at how we were introduced. We woke up, everyone's doing their things, and you see Violet, up there alone. When Ten whistled her to let her know that Clem is the new girl that arrived to the school, to which she responds with a smile. You can't really see it, but if you look closely, it's there. Anyway, look at her description on Wiki. Violet is described as pragmatic, sarcastic, and a loner type character. Now let's break all these things down and go into full details. Let's start with pragmatic. What does pragmatic mean? Well, if you're just like us and don't care about the words and their meaning, don't worry. Professor Google is here to explain to us what it means, and carefully listen to this. Dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical, rather than theoretical considerations. If this went above your head, let me explain it to you. Violet talks when it's necessary. She tries to be realistic almost all the way. She deals with things sensibly and practically, which makes her a unique character in the school, not throwing shades at the other kids. The second one was sarcastic, and finally, loner type. We found out she's got sarcasm the moment we met her, and honestly, tell me, can you blame her? No. And we'll come to that in just a second. The third one is loner type. Now, first of all, it pisses me and especially Smack a lot when people say that Violet reminds them of Jane. There is a huge, I mean huge difference and gap between Violet's character and Jane's. I don't want to go into details because that's for some time later, but know this, Violet's a teen that's going through some rough times just like the others. There are people in this world who sometimes just want to be left alone because they believe that as soon as they start sharing or making someone else in their group, it's going to be the same pain and sacrifice all over again. For who? For them, because we've been through this and we don't want to let them go through that because of us. And know this, teenagers react and handle situations differently. Smack's waving his hand because he thinks he fits into this category. And if you don't know what we just said, we'll explain it someday later. Anyway, here's another description, which we think is really important. During the early days of the outbreak, all the teachers at the boarding school left Violet, along with everyone else to fend for themselves. After Minerva's apparent death, Violet became withdrawn and antagonistic, causing a deep rift to open up in her friendship with Brody. This is such an important statement. As mentioned above, that some people tend to be the other way. Other people look at them as selfish, always being moody, a loner. But there's a reason they chose this path. As mentioned before, we'll dive deep into this subject because it has to do with psychology of the mind. Okay, then here comes the second part, and again, we're gonna quote from Wiki. When walkers encroach into the school's safe zone and endanger a hunting party, she snidely accuses Clementine of being responsible. When Violet so-called accuses Clem, she basically asked a question. Yeah, I know how you might ask. She literally asked a question. But if you respond back with, sorry about that, that's when you realize that Violet has some sort of good side to her. Let's keep going. However, she is impressed when Clementine helps fight off the walkers and joins Marlon and Lewis in a game of war to find out more about the newcomer, expressing iteration at Lewis's attempts to flirt with Clem. 2 points here. Number 1, she finds an excuse to talk to her and let her know she's not all stone-hearted. That's why she says, you're not bad considering the circumstances and all. She's literally finding excuses when she realized that she herself made a mistake of starting that conversation back there, and now she has to make it up to her. Number 2, expressing iteration at Lewis's attempts of flirting with Clem. I don't know if so many of you overlooked it, but when Lewis asks Clem about having a boyfriend, that's where Violet's good side, and I mean the heart side, starts for Clem. We'll talk about that in just a second. Then, later in the evening, Violet goes to retrieve art supplies for 10 from Minnie and Sophie's old room and discovers Clementine and AJ have been set up there. She apologizes for her earlier belligerence and tells Clem about what had happened to Minerva and Sophie, appreciating it if Clem consoles her. Okay, now here's a point that's so strong. Violet first, knowing that Clem and AJ have been set up in Sophie and Minerva's room, which is big. And secondly, she apologizes for her earlier behavior, which shows her other side. And you see how she starts opening up to Clem even more. You see, that's why Violet's character fascinates Smack. Her being so different, it makes you want to explore more about her character, and that's why Smack's all in for Violet. Alright, then here comes the next part. The next day, Violet, Brody and Clem go to the old cabin to catch fish. Violet expressing irritation at Brody's flights of fancy. Once alone with Clem, she apologizes for the previous night's awkward conversation and reveals that she and Brody were close friends prior to Minerva and Sophie's deaths. Okay, so the first thing here is that on her wiki page, it's mentioned that she's a fisherwoman. Just wanted to throw that fact out there. And number 2, Violet and Brody couldn't get along well after Sophie and Minnie's death, and that Brody thinks that Violet blames her for what happened to them, which is somewhat true, but just seeing her opening a lot, and I mean a lot, to Clem about a sensitive topic, shows how vulnerable she actually is when it comes to this situation, and it matches perfectly with what we said earlier. That's why most people don't even bother to start thinking about it, let alone starting a conversation that is serious with someone you just met a few days ago. You see how it's all aligning perfectly? Now here comes a part which so many overlooked, and it's a key point now. When Violet tells Clem that, I was supposed to be out with the twins that day. I wanted to work in the greenhouse, so I asked Brody to cover for me. Notice something unusual here? Alright, I'll give you a hint. One of the twins are supposedly Violet's love interest. We'll leave this for another video. Anyway, Clem helps revive their friendship again. And now let's talk about her relationship with Clementine. Here's a description that sums up everything. Violet initially treats Clementine as an annoyance, but is indicated that she quickly develops a crush on her. I told ya. See, I told ya. Vi reveals a shy, insecure side when they're alone together, and Brody is surprised at how quickly she opened up to Clem. Again, as mentioned before, these types of personalities, just like in real life, are actually very vulnerable and insecure in emotional sides, and she needs someone like Clem to help her balance both tough and emotional sides. Violet also expresses irritation when Lewis flirts with Clem during the game of war. If turned to for support in the final confrontation with Marlon, Violet will initially refuse, but ultimately sides with Clem. She freaking draws out her weapon to defend you. What else do you need? A single song doesn't mean everything. This is an apocalypse we're talking about. Sorry guys, it's Smack's fault for adding that line into the script. We apologize and respect all fandoms and ships. After all, I'm a Chloe's fan. Now, back to what we were saying. What's gonna be her role in episode 2? It's pretty obvious that Telltale are planning something big for Violet in upcoming episodes, now that she found someone she can trust blindly, and also finding the secret that the twins were actually traded, and it was a lie that they were killed by zombies. Through leaks, we also found out that she goes into her emotional side and opens up about her crush on Clem. Again, calling it first that she's gonna mention it first. Now, we're not saying that there's gonna be a complete PG scene. No, but episode 2 is about to be a fire. Better than the first one. Raiders attack, more information on the ranch, Violet and Clem's relationship progress, but then here comes another question. How can this relationship work if we don't know that Minerva is alive or dead? Or even if she's dead, how Violet is important for Clementine? Well, I guess you're gonna have to wait to part 2. I know. Look, this script is already out of hand. Smack's been writing this happily, but we've got to keep in mind that we're not professionals. We're not good at editing. In fact, we're not good at anything. So keep that fact in mind. We gotta find ways to improve our quality while keeping quantity at a consistent pace. With that being said, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. It was one heck of a banger, I know. And if you did, please make sure to smack that like button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I know it's kinda impossible at this point to get to 10k before episode 2, but every single subscriber is definitely appreciated. With that being said, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm Chantel, and I will of course see you soon. Until then, peace.